35 years ago, I first heard that solo. Good grief. And happy belated birthday to Steve Vai, which was one of the reasons why I started playing that solo again last week. It was his birthday. I was thinking about how many cool solos he's had back in the day, how many really neat progressions he's written to solo over. And I was thinking that this particular one, Ladies Night in Buffalo, off of Eat 'Em and Smile, that first David Lee Roth album that he was on, the full-length album, I was thinking about how that solo is loaded with Vai-isms, just things that became trademark Vai moves, subtle little things that he did. It's not the easiest solo, but it's not the hardest one either. There's a couple of really good examples of how you can use the pentatonic shapes and get some modal feelings going on just by adding a couple notes to the shapes. And he really does that here, and he also throws in some really crazy, like, triplets and sextuplets, and then shifts into quarter note feels and little subtle whammy bar things. And you kind of, if you're going to do this one, you want to have a 24 fret guitar. One of the last bends is from that high E up to a G, so a minor third up, and it's quite a little bend. But I want to run through this solo. A couple of people on my a couple of my Facebook friends said, yeah, let's do this. And so here this is, Ladies Night in Buffalo, kind of broken down for guitar, this solo. I won't get into too many of the chord concepts or anything like that. It's mostly a pedal tone over D for the main solo. It's doing like a D minor to a C over D to a B flat. To a G, and then all over that D, and then a B flat, up to C again. That kind of a feel under the solo. That's the key. You see this transcribed a lot of times in F, and I think that's just so the transcribers don't have to list so many accidentals in the key signature. It's a little easier to transcribe it in F, but if you're doing tabs, or if you're using shapes, you really can think of this as being centered around the D minor pentatonic. It's going to have an E flat at times, and it's also going to have, instead of normal G Phrygian having that B flat every time, it's going to also every once in a while hit a B in the solo as a little passing tone. So it starts off with a 20 fret bend up a whole step on the high E, and then 3 hits after it with a slide, and then 12 fret, 15 fret, slide down to the 10. So after that big bend, we slide up to the 20th fret. We pull off to the 10th fret, and then slide up to the 20th fret, and then 17, 18. And here's a real Vai-ism here. And then after you do that 18, you slide down, and then you give a slide up to the 14th fret on the G string, and then 12th fret. So that's a real Vai-ism. It's 20, 17, 18 on the B string, and then with the slide down. And then on your way down, you kind of grab the G string and slide up to the 14th fret, and then pull off to the 12th, and then grab the 15th fret of the D string with your pinky, and then index slide from the 12th to the 14th on that D string, and then roll down the 15th fret across the A and the E. That's such a Vai-ism. That's such a cool little lick too, So that's that whole first lick there, starting with the big bend and then the trills. And the crazy little lick up there at the 20, 17, and 18 on the B. And then you come back down with it. And then we get to another Vai-ism, these kind of sliding scrapes. 17, 17, 18, 20. And you grab that high E. And then same shape down to from the 15 to the 12th. And then you go from the 12th, that kind of the same thing, but you don't have to do that this time. You can really just kind of scrape across those strings. You don't have to hit this B flat here. But the idea, the target notes are the 12th fret to the 8th fret on that E string. And then it continues down to the 5th fret. And then you slide up and you start this little sextuplet run, this grouping of 3 notes per strings. By the time we get to the G string, we're going to do a little slide. So it's not officially sextuplets the whole time. That's hard to say. But you look at this as like kind of running down the A minor shape here, but we're really looking at the D minor shape because we got the minor third in here. So we're going 8, 6, 5. So, and then same thing on the B string. 8, 6, 5 on both of those. And then after those, we do it a little rushed so that we can get 4 notes in here, the target note being this A. And then we continue the 3 notes in that same kind of a shape. So here, when we go to the G string, we just shift our position down 1 fret and slide. And that's, a good move to learn. Continue that shape on the D and E strings, D and A string, and then 5, 3, 5 on the E. So that run. So the whole phrase there. Now we're going to climb our way back up. He does a lot of descending and then ascending. Or is it ascending and descending? Hey, you know what he does. And now this next one is another Vai-ism kind of a thing. And it's going to begin on the D string, 3rd fret. And then we're going to slide from the 5th fret to the 7th fret. And then go up to the 5th fret on the G string. And then grab the B string, 8th fret. And then slide your index finger up to the 7th fret of that G string. And we're kind of climbing steps at this point. And then you end up on the 8th fret of the E string. And then you bring your index finger back down to the B string, 8th fret, and you do 10th fret on the E string. There it is. Then you hit the minor third of the D, which is here on the 10th fret of the G string, that F note. So. Then you hit the 9 of the chord, or the 2nd of the chord at the E string, 12th fret, and you give a little bend, and then an A there on the B string, which is 10th fret. So that whole like, slower. And then you get this crazy flurry of notes, and this is going to all be kind of centered around this kind of a shape. So 15, 12, 13. See, in pinky to index on the E string, 15 to 12, and then B string 13. And then 12th fret. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you see how it's sextuplets, 6 notes together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you got 15, 12 on the E string, 13, 12 on the B string, and then 13, 12 on the E string. So however you look at it, 3 groupings of 2 or 2 sets of 3. I like to think of it as 2 sets of 3 as opposed to it's the phrasing of it. So after after you do that phrase twice, then you move up to your pinky up to the 20th fret on the E string, and you do that same shape. But then you end with a B bend, a B string bend at the, what are we looking at, 20th fret. So after you hit that 18th fret, that second time on the of the pattern, that time, so I guess it would be the third time of the pattern, but when you get to it in that way, all right, so that's that whole phrase. So up here it's 20, 17 on the E string, down to 18 on the B string. That's your first 3, and then 17, 18, 20. I'm sorry, 17, 18, 17. And then you do this, those first 3 again, but you bend the 20 up a whole step and give it a nice scream and a little vibrato. That's the way to end that little phrase, you know, the exclamation point. So that whole thing. So 20th fret. And then this is where it gets really crazy. He continues that this triplety, sextuplety feel. 20, 17, then 20 on the B string is our triplet phrase. And then we're going to do 17 on the E back down to 20, 18 on the B. And then we're going to slide real quickly. So we're going to slide real quickly from that F there on the 18th fret down to the 13th fret of the B string. And we're going to kind of take that motif and do it here now. And we're going to go 13, 12, and 10 with that slide there from the 12 to the 10. And then hammer or pick back up to the 12th fret. Most of this is picked. And then after you do that, you go back down to the 10th fret. So again, it's 2 groups of 3. Then we go back another, we do that same motif, down a string and down a fret. Now we're going to continue it. Our third motif is going to start from the 10th fret of the G string and go 10, 9, 12 on the D string. So after the hammer on, you have 12 on the A string, then 9 again on the D string, then 12, 10. And then a real cool ascending thing. He starts to break up the triplet feel. He throws these triplets over the bars. These really cool triplet phrase, but he starts just doing like quarter note picking or 16th note picking. So it's 7, 10, 12 on the D string. 7, 10, 12, and then on the G string we're going to do 2 notes, 10 and 14. 10 and 14, and then 13 and 18 on the B string. And you can hear he's spelling out an F chord, but he's starting on the A. So if we were doing an F triad, he's just going, and he's throwing in this D, this 6. So that whole little thing, after you get 13 to 18, you go 17, 20. And then you bend that bad boy. And then he starts a series of bends, and this is where you need that 24 fret guitar. The bends are on the 20th. After doing those bends, basically whole step bends with, some expressive picking in there. He does a kind of a pick and release to the 17th fret, and then bends the 22nd fret, a whole step. So after that 22nd, pull down to the 20th, and then you hit the 24th and bend. Basically, you're bending E to G. Ah. Getting a little Jack Butler there. So that's basically what he's doing there. And then it shifts to that E flat minor. It shifts to that E flat major 7 that the bridge takes on. And then you can kind of start to picture, once you think of it as E flat and E flat major, you know, E flat major would be right here if you want to add the 7. But the third is still there, so you can kind of take that E shape and just move it up and back. So we're kind of hitting that sound or this sound. You know, that's what this part of the solo is. So he starts on the 3rd and moves to the 6th of E flat, which is on the 10th fret there. That's that C. So this is like the mellow, smooth part, and he kind of starts to break it up. Instead of really showing off, he's brought the solo back down, and he's hitting those kind of melodies. Later, he would probably harmonize these kind of melodies with the harmonizer. But at this point, these are the beginnings of kind of those outline things that he tends to do over this E flat. That's a nice sound. And then 10 on the A string up to the 10 on the D string with 12, 13, 10. And then back up to that G, up to that 3rd. So he's really bringing out the chord tones. Other than that 6, which is a nice chord tone. The 4th gets off it real quick. And kind of goes back to that 6 by building around it. And then back up to the 3rd, a little vibrato, and then down to the 7th fret on that G. So that 12th fret from the B, that 12th fret on the G. So. And he really throws crazy vibrato in there, you know. Keep it subtle, and then, you know, I love that kind of vibrato. And then he goes up to the B string, the 11th fret. So earlier in the solo, we heard the 12th fret on the B string, and now he really wants to bring out that B flat here, which is the 5th of this of this whole kind of a thing. Of the E flat, and at that point he's also shifted over to the C chord, so that's the minor 7th of the C. So this B flat really is working over both of those chords. So 11 on the B string to 12 on the G string, and then 10, 12, 10, 11. Back down to the G string, 12. So it doesn't go to here. It doesn't stay on the B string. And then you get these bends, which would be 10 and 13. 10 on the E, 13 on the B. And you're basically bending that. You're doing a rock and roll bend, you know. You're getting that scream going. So you do that at the 10 by the 10th fret with your index finger, and then bend that B string at the 13th fret with your middle finger, and then move your index to the 13 and bend that 16th fret. So there he's resting on that F. And it's really cool that the last 2 chords of this progression, so it's going from an E flat to a C minor, and then an A diminished, which is hello. Okay. Wow, nice. So that would be like, just if you want a quick lesson, 5, 5, 5 across the E, D, and G string. Skip the A string, or you can do the A string, but I kind of like to phrase it like that. And then index finger here on the 4th. That's diminished, and he kind of throws that lick in there. Definitely a Steve Vai kind of a lick. So you got B flat, and then C minor, and then that little lick over the A diminished, and then you got E flat major 7th again, and then C minor 7, and then he does this move from that A diminished to A augmented. So he throws the major third. He moves from the minor third to the major third, and he moves from lowering the 5th to raising the 5th. So it's got this real cool. That's the way back to the verse. That D minor. So it's an amazing little passing thing you hear. And so this is why I think of the song in B flat. If you were to think of it, really, it would be D Phrygian modally, and the key would be major. So listen to this. You hear right there? You don't hear that B flat chord in the song because that's not what he's doing. He's not playing a major song. He's actually going up here to D minor, and he's messing around with. He's messing around with the minor chord tones, adding that minor 7th in there, but you don't ever really hear the E flat. You don't ever hear that E flat until that progression. And in fact, David Lee Roth's vocals never go to that E flat during any part of his singing over the D minor part. If you analyze his lyrics and what he's singing, he doesn't go to an E or an E flat. They're both avoid notes, and you'll find that in a lot of pentatonic shapes, that figure, that those two notes are going to be left out. So look, here's the D minor pentatonic, and it's going to go D, F, and it's skipping the E and the E flat. So he's leaving room for your ear to hear either one of those if you want. But if you heard that B major, then you really are going to hear that E flat as the 4. And then that C minor is like the 2, and then that A would be serving as that Locrian sound going back to B flat. But we're going up to here. Yeah, it's a really, really great progression that he wrote, and an amazing solo that kind of blends elements of jazz where he's playing over the changes. If you really look at the chords underneath the phrases that I showed there that he's playing, they outline the chords that he's picked, and they go by so quickly you can't believe that he is improvising that. He's probably not. It's probably written out. From what I understand, this was done with his Pink Jackson, which had 24 frets, and he used a Marshall. What else really cool about the song? I mean, I heard that he had layers and layers and layers, and Ted Templeman, who produced the album, stripped a bunch of them away and really just got down to that riff and made that the core of the song. And then when he got there, he had him do his little fills and a couple little embellishments, but Templeman really stripped the song down, and it took Vai a while to love that. And what's amazing for me is I can't picture this song any other way. I've always pictured it as that real stripped down driving song, a late at night kind of a thing. It's 2 a.m. and traffic slow. Must be ladies' night in Buffalo. What you doing, Dave? What's he doing, right? I mean, you have to ask him. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Give me a thumbs up if you do, and leave me a comment if you want more lessons like this. I had some gear stuff lined up, but man, I've done a lot of gear videos over the past couple of weeks. I've been real busy with work, so I've really been trying to space my videos out. I can't release too much because it's just difficult to produce a lot. But I really wanted to say happy birthday to Steve and say, hey, I love this solo still 35 years later. And I bet he wrote it well before that. I bet he did. I always felt like the music to this was something special for him. So anyways, thanks for being here, Double D Guitar. Take care.